business. We have a zoning board application, so Michelle, you wanna, or Eric?
So this is an application to the zoning hearing board from RB Ashley Customs for the property at 0 Gilbertsville Road, which has a potential for an address of 1759, which I think is how they referenced it in their application. So they are looking for reduced side yard setbacks, and then I think it's 2 front yard setbacks and then a side yard and a rear yard setback. So they're looking for a variance. The board has the option to make a recommendation in favor, oppose the application, or take no action and let the zoning hearing board decide this matter. Just so the board's aware, if you remember, they did submit this application previously. The zoning hearing board actually denied the application, and then they resubmitted the application with 3 options, which is not something that is allowed. It's not up to the zoning hearing board to decide which option is best for them. So they did meet, our staff and consultants met with their staff and their attorney, and they decided on option 2 in their application. And actually, they're gonna shift the house a little bit, so they'll only need actually 2 dimensional setback variances and not 1.
It's really a small lot.
Yes, very small,
Yeah.
tiny house.
Yes.
It's gonna be a very tiny house. I think it's 1,000 square feet.
So in this one, we have the option, as we did, send it back to the zoning hearing board who've already looked at it once, and let them take a look at it again. Or we can make a recommendation one way or another. Thoughts?
Well, I say let them take a look at it again.
Agreed.
I was gonna say, I think previously the board took no official action on their original application.
I agree. Okay, send it to the board.
Could you put the agenda back up on the screen, please?
Yep, go down to the red, no, that one, all the way to the left. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, new business B. This is some of the cleanup we had recently, the fire. Michelle?
So as the board's aware, we had a slight leak in the fire company due to a pipe that basically wasn't sealed properly, I guess you would say. And so we had to have Bulldog Cleaning and Remediation come in and clean and remediate the upstairs. There was damages to 2 of the offices up there, so I'm asking for your ratification because this was an emergency situation, so I had to get Bulldog in here and do the cleanup, which has been completed. We will work on getting quotes to have the offices restored as we did previously down here. So it was due to a pipe, not a leak from the outside, and we did already get approval from the insurance company on this one, so that's good news. So we just need a motion to ratify the cleaning and restoration charges in the amount of $8,044.06.
I'll make that motion.
Hearing a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a second, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. New business. For number C, that's the increase of planning zone administrator's salary. That's gonna be personnel action. We will discuss that in executive session. Michelle will present her case, and as Eric indicated, we'll come out with that action item. So we're going to new business D. That's, we had one person speak on that. That's the House Bill 291. So Eric, you did read through that, would you?
Yes. It's confusing. So basically, the current status of the law is that if a property owner is not paying a township bill, taxes, previously sewer, but even cutting the grass, anything like that, that we would go out and do that and lien the property to get paid. There's 2 normal ways that a township would get paid on that. One is a sale of the property. If that happens, the seller would have to pay it because they would do a title search. It would come up in the title search, and the buyer and the title company would make them pay it before it transferred to the buyer. The second way is during a refinance, and that is if they're refinancing, that lien would come ahead of the new mortgage. So I'm trying to get the right distance from this. So, so if they're refinancing, the lien would come ahead of the new lender who is doing the refinancing, so the lender would again ensure at that time that the liens would get paid off before the loan proceeds would go out. So one thing that's different from what the lady spoke about at the beginning of the meeting, she said that the lien would have to be paid before the refinance. That's not necessarily true. It would have to be paid during the refinance. So what would happen is the refinance would happen, the new money would come in, that money would get spent on two things first. One, it would pay any old mortgage, and two, it would pay the township off.
So that's paid at the time of settlement.
Paid at the time of settlement, not before. So it may be in semantics, it may be what she intended to say, but I just wanna make sure that's clear, is that they wouldn't have to find the money to pay you and then refinance. It would all be part of that refinance, but they would have to find the value of the property to justify the amount of the new loan. What this law is proposing is to allow property owners, rather than refinancing, to structure it as a modification of a mortgage. At that point in time, what would happen is your mortgage date wouldn't change, so that you're modifying an old mortgage, its priority would stay as the old mortgage date, which means our lien would come after it. They wouldn't pay us off. So we would really lose one of the two ways that we have on collecting these liens. If they sold, it would still pay us off, so that wouldn't change. But if they were refinancing it, it would give them the ability to structure it as a modification rather than as a refinance, and totally wipe away your ability to collect it at that moment. So, so in my mind, I do respectfully disagree with the resident who spoke, in that if you didn't support this, you were actually taking away 50% of your opportunity to collect on these liens.
So it's essentially going from our current state to a new state?
100%, yes, because while it allows the modification, I think what the fear from our side would be that banks would stop calling them refinances and would start calling them modifications all the time. So, so that it would take away a lot of your ability. There is a third way to collect, and that would really be that the township would go through a lengthy costly scenario of turning our lien into a judgment, and then we would foreclose. But most of the time, our value of doing that is, until they owe us 25, 30 grand, it's not worth us going through that process. It's both time consuming and expensive. So there is a third way, but that way does not happen very often. So in a lien, what a lien is essentially is a static document out there that we have really no enforcement powers other than through a refinance or a sale of a property.
Okay, so the letter would go to both Senate and House?
Correct.
Okay, so this is House bills were originated, I guess it's still stuck in committee?
I believe, I think it did approve the one, or pass the one house, I believe, and it's going to the other one, so yeah, this is.
So I'm sure then it was passed the House.
Yeah, I think it's passed the House and going to the Senate, yes. That's
Oh, the House Finance Committee, not the House.
Correct.
Just the Finance Committee, okay, thank you.
Now before the House Rules Committee.
Perfect.
Correct.
Okay,
So now's the time to get your 2 cents in, definitely.
so, and did the draft letter come with this on?
No, I would just ask there, because I know it's a standard letter.
It's a board, okay. Okay, so questions on that? Questions on the letter? And what it's doing?
This has been probably one of the most confusing things since I became a commissioner. I do agree with Ashley a little bit there. Do we foreclose on people's houses? Have we done as a township? Have we pushed that?
I can tell you, I represent many municipalities, I don't think I've ever done it for any municipality. I've done it for authorities and other entities, and sewer authority who basically gets a quarterly bill and it builds up.
I would
But I've
say,
never done it for a township,
and
or a municipality, I should say.
now, I know you may not be able to answer this, do school boards foreclose on township? I mean, they have a lot more.
Yeah, their amount would get bigger quicker, but really, yes, they absolutely do. I mean, you see that happen all the time through
I
tax
just
claims.
wanna say one
Go
thing
ahead.
too. So I just wanna point out one thing too, so, we do, just so the board's aware, we do have some delinquent sewer fees that are still with Portnoy Law Associates. And through the agreement that we have with them, if a property owner fails to pay, what they do is, once it gets to a certain point, they ask us for permission to file a writ of execution for sheriff's sale. And we typically authorize that, because what happens is, if someone does have a mortgage on their property, at that point, the mortgage company is notified, and typically, they make good on the debt that's owed for the sewer. And then we get the payment, because then what they do is they just tack it into their escrow account. So, not that we have a ton of money left at Portnoy to be collected, but we do have some money, so that's separate and apart from tax issues as well, because we do have liens for some of our delinquent sewer accounts.
Generally speaking, Michelle, the liens we do have, and we put on different folks, once they resell the house or anyone else gets a mortgage, do they generally pay that off? Have you ever had an issue with
Yes.
any of this before? Not getting our lien piece, or the issue the lien was put on?
No, not typically, no. I mean, unless a property never sells, like, we do have other liens besides sewer liens, so we do have municipal liens, like, I think Eric indicated for grass cutting and things like that.
And the only time I've had somebody miss a tax lien or something like that is if it's a family transaction and they don't go through the formal process.
Correct.
That would mean there's a death in the family and parents, through the will, gift it to their children, and the estate attorney doesn't look at the stuff, and so it doesn't get paid. Now, at that point, the property still owes it, the estate owes it, and now the new owners now owe it as well. So you have a lot of people at that point to go after it, and that's normally a couple phone calls and it gets paid pretty quickly, but that's the only time where I've had that missed.
And that's our prevalent, means of enforcement, really, our primary one.
It's correct, yeah, you have the long drawn out, execution process, but that's few and far between. Like I said, I've never done it for a municipality.
So we do have, Michelle, you recall how many liens are out there? Actually, you can see those on the county side on
We
every.
don't have a plan yet.
It's not a lot, but you guys drop those, so and it's for different things as well. So it would stay, if we, write a letter and, opposing this, we're keeping the status quo, and we're keeping the lien mechanism we use to enforce a lot of the things that we ask folks to do, given our ordinance, so. Other questions on
Is
this?
there a time factor when we have to reply to this?
Well, as it's indicated, it seems like it's out of committee to rules. It goes to the House and back to the Senate. Senate's probably the place where it stops.
So this will be the next Olympics before they probably run this. Why don't, can I just make a motion to table this for a month? I really need more information. I am not prepared for this. If, other commissioners are, I will go with the consensus.
I'd recommend we, probably, because we've been using this tool,
I know.
and I think we probably, if we are going to, I mean, we don't have to do anything. Some of that, so, if you want to write a letter, and I'm sure if it goes right to Upper Pottsgrove Township, so if you don't wanna do anything, we don't have to do anything, you wanna write a letter of support, we certainly do that, or not. It's probably gonna be a House for, Senate against, I'm guessing.
And then governor, right? Isn't governor?
Well, if it doesn't pass in two houses, then it's not, they go to governor.
Okay, great, all right. I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
I say I'm in favor of writing the letter for opposition to it.
I agree.
Is that a motion?
Well, we're.
Is that a motion? It could be if you want it to be.
See, we got a second.
I'll second it. Since we're still, okay, so that was a motion, so, yeah, we're kind of discussion, but, motion, second, any more discussion on it? Write a letter of opposition. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?